had written down something about history and that, but this is in Milverton
Yep.
with the refrigeration mechanic that taught us the trade. The skinny fella is Smitty,
Smitty,
and Jim and my dad,
Weldon, and then Jim Hall.
Jim Hall, are in that. How my dad started the business himself is in 1942, and then from what we can figure, he had the building in Milverton in about 1945. Now, I always thought that he only owned the one building, but when he sold it to the owner of the hardware store next door, who had been renting his half from Dad.
Okay.
So he had owned both the stores. But I just came across this one. This is the name of some either potential customers
Oh yeah.
from their early 50s. My 3 times great-grandfather came over in 1847 with the potato famine on in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
At that time. He became ill on the ship,
Okay.
and he died in Kingston Harbor. Now imagine,
Oh wow.
with no St. Lawrence Seaway, so there was rapids and everything from Kingston on down to Montreal,
Mm-hmm.
taking a sailing ship down into Lake Ontario and dropping people off in Kingston, Well, he had passed away in Kingston, so he and my direct 2 times great-grandfather had lost a newborn or a young infant too in that ship ride. That he and his the child's grandfather was buried in Kingston. The rest of the family, including the grandmother, came down to around Milverton area, and all of the women in the family stayed in Mornington Township with somebody that they knew. The males went into Elma Township and were the first settlers in there for that first winter of 1847. And all they had was axes, and they may have had a rifle or whatever, but they would just live in a shanty or whatever and live off the land until because they couldn't plant anything by that time, they had come down. So they were basically the first settlers. And where Donegal is now, they called it Buchananville until it was surveyed and they put a post office in Donegal.
Wow.
In the early 50s. I just came across the inventory. I think you had seen them before, and that was in about 53, I think it's written on it there. They had 3 trucks that were worth $2,000 and $1,000 worth of tools and supplies. Now that picture is of the largest tank sold in Canada up until that point. But it was a 4,000 gallon, and it also was the first free heater that Mueller had sold in Canada. And at that time, they told us to put it, and he was milking cows in a parlor, and he had udder washers built in. So we
Mhm.
thought, well, no, this is fine. It's going to have lots of warm water and everything. So we put in 2 storage tanks because that's what Dewar
Wow.
recommended.
Mhm.
They never ever accumulated any hot water because they were using it all the time washing the cattle.
Exactly. Wow.
you know.
Yeah.
But it worked great for
Mhm.
a lot of years, and then we put a second unit. The next year, we sold a 5,000 gallon to Flinkards right on the edge of Drayton, and then that became the largest one in Canada. It had 3 compressors on it, and they were milking 600 cows into it, and they were picking the milk up every day out of that tank, so they were putting a lot of milk. It was a parlor
Okay.
down there, but you drive by the pasture field in front of the place with 650
Wow.
milking cows out there, which is pretty well filled as 10-acre field. Both of those tanks came by railroad from Mueller and
And did you pick them up at the
at the train station.
train station?
I put the one on this, our little 16-foot trailer.
Yeah.
And the fellows were really upset about how it rode all the way up to Harris to get up there. So the next one we got a float and tractor trailer, but we still unloaded it off the.
And you did it all by hand, by no
Oh.
crane or anything, right?
No, no cranes.
Yeah.
They rolled it off the freight car there, and then there was a dock there
Mhm.
that on the other side of the freight shed, and they rolled it onto the setup. Because he was handling a lot of heavier refrigeration units and things like that at that time in Milverton, he put in an elevator because it was typical of an apartment up above. There were stairs from the back and stairs down to the front.
Mhm.
It was actually a dance hall up above originally that was over both buildings. So when my dad went to put an elevator in there, he had one of his workers, who happened to be Elmer McCord, tear out the stairs and make a hole in the floor. So my brother Alan and I were up there at 9 and 10 years old, pulling spikes out of these pieces of wood. And Alan was pulling them out with his back to this hole. He pulled it out,
Oh no.
and he fell down the hole, and it was already opened up right to the basement. And naturally, Elmer and I run down the other stairs to go into the shop. Sitting in the basement was a step ladder right under this hole. We came down there, and here's Alan walking up the stairs from the basement. Had a little cut over his head, over his forehead.
So did he land on the
He must
ladder?
have, he may have hit the ladder. It wasn't broken.
But it might have broke
You know,
his fall.
Yeah, broke his fall or something. But, this is with 12 or 14 foot ceiling in the main shop. And, fall down through there and got a little cut, but he lost one of his shoes. And we never could find
You can
it.
find it. Wow.
But naturally, just about that time, my dad walked in, and he was quite angry that Elmer would let us be standing over this hole, and he whipped him around the corner to the doctor, and either got a stitch or a Band-Aid or whatever. But,
Wow.
but Alan had a kind of a habit of falling into things like that. chicken house over top of the pig pen that was an L-shaped barn. And to clean out the chicken house, you would just take up these boards and let all of the straw and everything go down into the pig pen. But you had to put these boards back in the correct order,
Okay.
and I didn't. Alan walks over top of that and he fell down through there onto the back of a pig. So
But again, broke his
So
fall.
he's got something.
never got hurt at all.
Yeah.
And he had done the same thing on a hay chute in the other barn, fallen down. And Alan had rheumatic fever when he was about 4 years old. And this was naturally still when we were living on the farm. He comes out to the barn, and my mother was out there too, and the cows were in a tie barn, for milking, and we had milking machines at that time.
Mhm.
So also there was gutters in behind the cow. So Alan goes up close to the cow, and the cow kicked him into the gutter, and it was full. So I was 5 years old at the time, and I remember my mother taking him up to the house, and we had an outside pump, and she just stood him under the pump and forced him off. On the thing. So he did seem to run into everything that when we were on the farm. By this time, Dad had started his business, and then would go to work in the shop. Well, when I was 7 years old, we moved from Donegal to Melbourne, and I started in school there at the thing. But on the way home from school, you could walk about a half a block and then go down in the back door into the shop. So I would always go home that way, and see what they were doing if they were there, if they're. Some of the pictures that we have here of the truckload of milk coolers. They used to ship milk in milk cans. They called them. They would hold 80 pounds of milk, and then with the can, they were about 100 pounds to lift or anything. But what they did, they put these in side opening milk coolers, and they would build ice in the bottom of them, and then have a pump to spray water down the sides of these cans. Well, that's what these and this that are loaded on that truck. And then there's another picture of them on the small trucks being taken around to the back to unload them. They would probably have two doors on it with either, depending on the configuration, some of them were a little different. And they also had ones that were open on the top, and you just lift them and put cans in, and they would still build ice around the sides.
My name's Rob Anderson. I am the president currently of Buchanan and Hall. I started here in 1985, and just as a casual worker, and then shortly after entered an apprenticeship for refrigeration. Primarily our work at that time was more focused on the dairy industry as well as some heat pumps. In 2005, after the retirement of the previous ownership group, we purchased the company, and so it's been basically just mostly the role of directing, commercial and industrial sales for myself in the refrigeration sector.
Rose Anderson. I worked for Buchanan Hall for 20 plus years now. I worked on and off a little bit for the company prior to buying it, but just here and there when I was needed. Before that, I worked for the City of Stratford, and before that, then I worked for Municipal Affairs and Housing. So currently, I'm the Vice President of the company. My official title is VP Sales and Design. I worked in sales for 18 of those 20 years, and I still do the design for the company for residential.
I am Nathan Colquhoun, and I started working here back in 2008. I started out as a co-op student. I asked the co-op teacher for a plumbing co-op, which I assumed I'd be going to a plumber type background. I wound up getting placed at B&H, and then because I was only half day, I wound up in the sheet metal shop and learned how to do sheet metal. So didn't know anything about HVAC. And right now I'm basically on service full time.
I'm Jesse Schellenberger. I do commercial sales and design. I have worked here for about 18 years now, starting out of high school during co-op.
My name is Cora Taylor, and I'm a refrigeration apprentice. I've been here for about 3 years.
My name is Josh Schellenberger. I am the project manager for the residential light commercial projects, which involves project management and project estimating. So I originally started at B&H in 2008 as a refrigeration apprentice. There was a period of time where I left just to go down a different avenue, and I've been back since 2022 in the project management role.
Yeah, my first day here, I mean, it was probably my first day at a trades company for sure. I mean, I had some part-time jobs before that because I was still in high school. So just seeing the group of guys and everybody that was here and the system that was happening, everybody seemed to have a role, and it was just like a worker bee mentality. So trying to jump in, I was definitely a little nervous, and I don't like to stand out at all, so I just kind of wanted to fit in where I could. So it was definitely a nerve-wracking experience, but once I kind of got my corner in the insulating the duct department from Gary happy, then it started to feel a little bit better.
My first day was with Toby at a grocery store, and I didn't know hardly anything about electricity or refrigeration. In the past 3 years, I've learned a lot, so it's funny to look back on that first day because I had no clue what I was doing. But looking back, it's actually pretty easy.
I do remember my first day. I was pretty nervous coming in just because I had taken some time off from my previous job to starting here, so there was a bit of a gap in just employment as well. I think new situations, you never really know what to expect, but I was with my brother, which I always feel comfortable when I'm around him, and we got right into the mud, and we're doing a ground loop day one, so it's hard work. It's a good way to break the ice, and I mean, today it just feels like a second home. Everyone's like a family. It's a tight-knit group. It's, the complete opposite of a first day. It's a very comfortable feeling coming into work and, chatting with your coworkers and working alongside people you get along with.
It was a lot smaller. I remember going to the old shop the first day after driving past it almost my whole life coming into town and wondering what they do there. So since then it has grown quite a bit and changing locations. So we've seen it kind of go through its ebbs and flows, and it's gone from a smaller company to, I wouldn't say a super large one, but it's big enough, and it's evolved from kind of doing a little bit of everything to mainly focusing on geo for the years of the grants to now doing a lot of commercial work, CA facilities and stuff like that are all different, but all part of what we do here and keep it interesting.
When I first started here, there were some government grants in place. We really, the focus of the company at that time was heavily geothermal, just a few install crews. So day in, day out, working with the same people for the most part, really got comfortable and in a groove doing kind of the same thing over and over and over again. Now it's quite a bit different, a number of different people that I have to work with on a daily basis. The projects are quite different from project to project, whether that be residential or commercial projects or geothermal versus refrigeration projects. It's quite a bit more diverse now than it was when I first started.
It's changed quite a bit. It's definitely grown. I think when I first started, I think I got mainly hired under the principle of when the geo grants were on, so I would have been hired for a lot of ground loop work, which was great for the time of my life and where I was at. When I first started working here, there was one crew that did installations and one crew that did ground loops. Day in, day out, everybody was doing their part, so it was very, very geo-based at that point, and then even from there it just continued to grow and grow, and I think there was only 2 service guys here at the time too, so it's definitely grown from what it was.
I think what first drew me to Buchanan Hall was the unique projects. My brother was telling me about the geothermal projects, and I think that it really kind of sparked an interest for me. And I wanted to try something that was maybe a little bit more out of the box than standard HVAC.
I wasn't really drawn here, I was more placed here. I had a co-op in grade 11, kind of asked what I wanted to do, gave my co-op teacher a list. I didn't have a vehicle to drive anywhere, and Buchanan Hall was very close. I lucked out that I was accepted here to be a co-op student. It kind of just went from there. After my first year, I remember when I asked for my job here, I was working with Rob, and I think we were at Richardson's changing a fan motor, and on the way back I asked if I could have a summer job, and then I worked as a sheet metal helper that summer. That was the summer of grade 11, I guess. So I haven't really looked back. I guess what drew me to stay here was probably the geothermal aspect of things, and kind of the variety of work that we did. I remember when I was in high school kind of asking my mom how they stored apples for so long, and the very next day, ironically, I went to an apple storage facility, which I thought was super cool as well, on the other side of what we do with the refrigeration. So it was kind of those two things that really drew me to sticking around here and what we did.
I would say my most specific memory was the very first day that I was here. And I just remember feeling that I would never be able to do the things that the other people in the company did. That they were so qualified and so knowledgeable in all of the different areas of work that they performed. And I just could not see myself ever being able to do that. It was very intimidating. There was a lot of fear there, a lot of apprehension, but it took some time for that to go away. But I do remember that, very strongly in my first day.
It was a time I was working with Rob on the roof of Richardson's, and I figured out that we do not work all that well together, mostly because we are both too stubborn to know when to quit. It was the middle of winter and really cold and windy, and both of us just worked until we got the job done and couldn't ask each other to take a break to warm up. So that was kind of the moment that I realized that we weren't really the best to work together. It wasn't anything to do with how we worked together. It was just that we were both too stubborn to say anything.
Project or moment I'll never forget. The one project I did enjoy, and I still do, is Martinson on Myra, when we first built that building, because that one was kind of the very first large commercial project that I would have done, led the job myself. So seeing that place, from the foundation and everything. You know, we did everything from insulated metal panels to the refrigeration, and even then, like working there even today, you know, knowing what the project looked like started with to today, like they've changed so much and evolved so much over the years, and it's been kind of cool because that was almost like a starting point for my career as a technician, kind of independently, to now it's still kind of carrying on over there. So I really enjoyed that project. I mean, I remember that project particularly. I was in a boom lift and putting the middle section of a panel together, and Matt was at the very top locking the panel together, and there was usually a couple guys in the bottom locking it together. And I remember on that project we had to use a flathead to kind of try and get the lock kind of jammed. And I remember at one point the flathead in my hand kind of bounced out and it dropped. And I remember it dropping right beside Rob, who was on the bottom, and I remember him looking up at me like, I'm like, okay, today's the day I'm fired for sure. So I do remember that moment, especially on that project.
I don't know. There's a lot. I think sometimes some of the very first sales that I made were probably a big key memory of mine. And as you get into selling, just that the feeling of, oh yeah, I got another sale is a nice feeling when you're in sales.
One of the first commercial jobs that I worked on was with Jay and Gord for the chicken barn that they did. So that was pretty exciting and fun to work on that with them.
One moment that I will never forget, and I didn't really understand it at the time, but there was a residential customer that was the owner of Tim Hortons in Exeter. Before we left Stratford, we picked up some coffee and breakfast, hit the road for the long drive, and when I got to site, I had my McDonald's coffee at the front door of the Tim Hortons owner, and he was furious with me, and I didn't really understand why at the time completely, but now I kind of see that, you know, optics are everything, that it's important to review a project in detail, know the owner, know the customer, and know who you're working for. You know, I didn't really understand at the time, but I definitely see the importance of that now, and you need to review the details of every project.
I think for both of us, the challenge in moving from employee into ownership of a company is that you may know how to do things very well in your trade, but you may not know how to do things very well, you know, in operating a business. So the learning is never stopped, and it's very progressive. So I would say that, you know, that's sort of the biggest challenge in that regard, is just that you have to keep on learning, and you know, you don't come into it knowing these things.
It has been difficult to be in an industry that's predominantly male, but things are changing, and I think that acceptance of that has changed, so that's been real one benefit. One of the other challenges, the industry's constantly changing, and as a company, we always have to keep up with that. So we got to make sure that we're innovative and go along with those changes and make sure that we're keeping up.
Moving into ownership can be difficult. There can be lots of challenges in operating a business. However, you know, there's many rewards that come along with that as well too, and you know, it can be very satisfying, you know, fulfilling the needs of our customers.
Running a business is tough. It can be tough on your family life. It can be tough on your emotional health. There's a lot of stress behind running a business, but sometimes those stresses are just very minimal, and the benefits far outweigh those. I think one of the biggest things for us running the business together is making sure that if business comes home, that we keep that to a minimal amount, that we're not constantly talking about work when we're at home.
I kind of hunger for learning new things and new experiences, and I think the opportunities here that I've been given is, there's zero holdback, zero restriction on trying new things and new opportunities and continuing to evolve. So I think that's really what's helped keep me going, and yeah, just continuing to learn and everybody being on board with it.
I would say I value the most is like patience from everybody, because I started with no background in the trades. So I really appreciate all the time and patience that people have had for me.
What I value when I came to Buchanan Hall, I worked under a journeyman who was very particular prior to coming here. It was a great apprenticeship to start in. I became very confident very quickly, but I quickly lost that confidence when my work was continuously nitpicked. It started to drag out my jobs because I was constantly second guessing myself. And when I came here, Rob put his full confidence in me. He never once nitpicked my projects or anything like that. His confidence in me built my confidence in myself, and I feel really allowed me to excel here and really move forward in a big and meaningful way in my career.
The culture is more supportive and encouraging, especially with new apprentices. They really give you a lot of tools to succeed and are there for you when you need help.
I think building this facility that we're in right now was a key milestone for us. Mm-hmm. A little concerning at first, but now that we made that move and we've, we can really see the benefits of having this facility based on especially how the dairy portion of our industry has grown so much.
Yeah, there's been a number of really nice milestones. We have a very diverse type of customer base and even several different divisions within the company. And it's been really nice to see that, in those divisions, we have done very well. Like, we have been well recognized as being, some of the top performers. So whether it's in the geothermal sector of our business, the dairy side of the company, or the commercial refrigeration and cold storage industry, and even in the supermarket service and installation, we really have seen some major milestones achieved in that, and very proud and happy of all the people within the company that are involved in that. I think the biggest motivation for the employees is that they're also very happy and proud to be associated with some of the projects that we have had, which were some just amazing projects. We take, I think, a lot of satisfaction in seeing the pride that they take when they're doing that type of work. So again, hard to pinpoint, sort of exact areas and divisions because there are so many, but definitely pride in the projects, pride in workmanship and so on is very evident through the entire workforce.
I think I really think it's important that everyone gets along and they try to work as a team and not individually. I think teamwork is really crucial, especially when it comes to installation and the work that they're doing. They need to do it safely and to do it effectively.
I think what we look for in an employee is someone who is, moldable to the values of the company, someone that really gets along well with others, someone that is just really a good person. And if we start off with that, then the trade knowledge can be taught, but sometimes great trade knowledge, you can't always make a person to be a really good individual. But we're very happy to say that, everyone just adores most of our guys, and, they're great individuals, and we love having them and working with them. Something that I always appreciated in working for Buchanan and Hall for 20 years before buying the company was that the business always did show a great deal of integrity and honesty in dealing with their customers. And that's something that, became a core value of the company, and we're happy to, make sure that continues. In regards to innovation, even in the early days of the company, the installation of innovative and energy-saving devices, things like geothermal heat pumps, air source heat pumps, and even things relating to refrigeration that not only allowed our customers to meet their needs but to save energy has always been very important, and that ultimately is good for the environment as well too. So we really have been happy to look at good environmental stewardship and initiatives as well too.
Well, I think integrity and even loyalty to your customers benefits them, but it benefits the whole corporation, the whole workforce. Long term, if we show that integrity to our customers, they're also going to show that to us. And I think that has been the history of Buchanan and Hall. We've had customers basically, since Rob started, that are still customers today. And I think that is because we've tried to, as Rob mentioned, reflect that same quality that the original owners had.
I think integrity kind of develops the main value of the quality of work that we do, the professionalism, and just how something is installed. And just taking pride in that, that's the thing that kind of develops the integrity, is having the pride in what you do and the quality of work, that it's professional, and that the customers are happy with it in the end.
Integrity, it's important to me because when I'm recording my notes for customers, I want to be honest with what I found and what I did, and making sure I did the right thing and completing the task to my best ability.
Integrity means everything to me in my role, my career. I never want to act anything but integral. It means a lot that the company has those same core values. A lot of people that call in know very little about their heating, refrigeration equipment in their homes. They really oftentimes don't understand it, and they're really relying on me to tell them how it works and what the best option is. And in those moments, I want to have nothing but integrity and be honest with them on, these are the options, these are the different cost points, and if this is my home, this is what I would do. Because personally, I'm a personal believer that we shouldn't really be doing anything that we wouldn't do in our own home, especially on a residential standpoint, whether that be quality of workmanship or equipment recommendations and so forth. So integrity plays a huge part in that.
Yeah, I think it's important for sure. Integrity and innovation. Like I kind of mentioned, it is a core value here, and it is what really keeps the business continuing to move forward and gives you a projection into the future, right? So without integrity, people wouldn't call you back or get you in, or you wouldn't have good reviews, and the innovation is really what separates us, I find, from other businesses, is being able to look at the bigger picture when it comes to a project, right? Like how can we accomplish this for a relatively affordable cost, be energy efficient, and be productive in what they're trying to do. It really comes down to innovation. It's using what you can around you with technology and kind of incorporating different ideas, and it really is what separates us from most places, I find.
I think a lot of that has to do with it being able to reinvest in itself and innovate over the years, and be able to have a wide variety of things that we do. I think that's a big part of why it's been so successful.
Yeah, I think it's also, as a company, I think it's their continuing efforts to not just stand by and do what we do, but kind of learn and try new things, and you know, a lot of custom projects. Like, I think a lot of times our customers rely on us for kind of innovative ideas and ways to accomplish what they need to, and a lot of times we're able to, just through experience and transparency with them, is to come up with these types of creative ideas, you know, and to accomplish what they need to do, and to keep in mind, like, you know, sustainable systems and energy efficient systems and energy wise type stuff, you know, and so just that evolution of keeping that train of thought and that stuff is really kept a lot of our customers coming back and kept us working as a result.
I think that what has kept the company successful for so long is just maintaining the good client relationships that we have with our customers.
I think innovation, sustainability, things that are, you know, being involved in leading edge projects. Customers oftentimes are looking for creative solutions that are maybe a bit outside the box, and I think that the talent at Buchanan Hall can offer that. Also with the sustainability factor, people have they value sustainability, energy conservation, not only from an operational cost standpoint, but just from just being a steward of the planet. So I think those two things really kind of set us apart from other companies.
I think we've been able to adjust with the industry, I guess. That's one of our biggest key things is when, say, commercial has tapered off, we've been able to do an uptake in the residential side of things and vice versa. If residential kind of tapers down, then we've been able to focus more on commercial. And then even if any kind of construction tapers a little bit, then we've been able to focus heavily on service. So I think just being adaptable and making sure that we adjust with those changes in the industry.
Yeah, I would agree. Just having, you know, multiple types of work that we do, it allows for continuity, you know, during all kinds of economic conditions, you know, upturns and downturns. Servicing the agricultural sector has also, you know, been a great mainstay of the company, and food production. So all those things are good, you know, stable industries that form really the good foundation of the company. And a lot of the other things kind of fill in from there. We have a great team of individuals who are heavily engaged, you know, in the success of the company and in the future prospects of it. So I would say that probably long after, you know, we're no longer involved in it, that there's a great opportunity for the company to continue on, just like it has for the last 75 years already. You know, by necessity, there's next generations that come along. So to see that within the company, both inside and outside of family, is really heartwarming. So we feel good about the future prospects.
And I hope we continue on the renewable portion of it. It's been a tough industry in the last, you know, number of years, but that's where this whole company started, was on the renewable side, and it's always done very, very well on that. So I hope that's something that can continue in the future.
I think the primary goal is just to see, you know, a successful, ongoing transition of the company in any number of different forms that can possibly take. So yeah, we don't want to see this end. We want to see it, you know, the success that we've enjoyed continue on into the future, you know, for not just for everyone that is here, but for certainly all of the customers that we serve as well too.
And I see why prior owners take pride in even what we've done, and we hope to do the same of the next individuals that take over on the company, that they have great success and continue to have that success.
I see myself growing in terms of finishing my apprenticeship and also continuing with my gas licenses as well. I hope I'll be able to assist people with certain jobs and questions. I would say getting more responsibility and leadership roles would be exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for, you know, next steps of the company, I feel like this day and age we're kind of you know, we're at a bit of a crossroads where a lot of people are talking about electrification, heat pumps, energy. So I think we're in a good position to really set our mark and show people, you know, what we have been doing on a large scale, and just really falling into that role where we are the leaders in sustainable energy and sustainable innovative projects. And yeah, I mean, that excites me.
That we're always approachable, whether it's myself or Rob, everybody that they feel that has a leadership role within the company, that it's always been an open door, like that you have, you know, our back no matter what.
I would tell them to make sure that they absorb all the information that they can, even in trades that they're not interested in. You can learn a lot, and you realize further on in your career that there are small things that seem minuscule, like ground loops and stuff like that. Seems more like a laborer's job, where you're like, what's the point of doing this? But you realize the importance of it down the road. Just understanding the totality of jobs and how everything operates, and just learning skills of, like, basic skills of other trades to be able to complement the trade that you're in.
We're not all scary. It's pretty laid back. Nobody's here to bite your head off, but yeah, I would say you just embrace it. Honestly, just embrace it, and whatever you want to learn or accomplish, it's something that you can do here, you know. So there's a lot of opportunity for just personal growth, honestly. So yeah,
My advice would be that people here will help you succeed as long as you put the work in. So if you try your best and you're honest with what you know and don't know, they'll help you out a lot.
Yeah, I would say just take it in stride. We do a wide variety of projects, and I think getting started at a company like ours, it can be overwhelming at times, especially in the first few weeks, where you might be thrown around on a bunch of different job sites. You're not going to be able to soak it all in at once. Just you know, keep your eyes open and listen to what people are telling you. Ask lots of questions, and you know, it's gonna come eventually. And just one day at a time.
I think the best piece of advice is just to love what you do and to grow to love, you know, what it is you're doing. You know, working in skilled trades can be extremely satisfying and rewarding. So, you know, to develop that love is very important.
And I think another thing too is to be proud of what you do. As Rob said, the skilled trade is truly a skilled trade, and you would never want to look down on that you're not accomplishing something that's great, because it's something that is, you know, needed.
yeah, it's important for sure. Yeah, I did not even know that or thinking of it when I first started here. You know, I didn't know who Buchanan Hall was. I grew up on a pig farm that we don't deal with dairy or anything like that. So I had no idea who Buchanan Hall was. And once I started working here, I ended up finding out from my grandpa that when he first moved to Canada and had a dairy farm, that, yeah, it was Buchanan Hall that worked on it and serviced it, you know. So and at that point, you know, you're talking, you know, mid-60s, late 60s. So as soon as you kind of hear that, you're like, wow, that's kind of a full circle moment here, that, you know, I'm working for the guys that actually work for you. So it's been pretty cool. Yeah.
It's pretty cool, I guess, to look back through the history and see, even for the time that I've been here, how it's evolved and how it's changed as far as what we do and the services we offer. And kind of looking back even further beyond my time here, all the different services that it provided in the past. It's pretty interesting to see kind of how a business can evolve over the years from doing one thing to what we do now.
It's nice to be trusted by customers and contractors since the people before me have built such a good reputation.
It shows kind of a standard to maintain from the previous employees that started the company to, you know, all those people that fell into place that made their mark at Buchanan Hall. It kind of sets the bar. You know, it also gives you a target to do better. And when you're constantly trying to do better and improve, then the age of the company, if you're constantly improving, you turn into a type of company like Buchanan Hall that is kind of a step above quite a few companies. It also shows our resilience in the hard times, and it creates a bit of a legendary type company that makes you proud to work for.